Hey y'all, Daddy Mac down here once again, but this time I'm here with something a little bit different. I decided I wanted to do a series of videos on Hinterland Studios' survival game, The Long Dark. I thought it'd be fun to play The Long Dark because I am a fan of survival games. I've pretty much always enjoyed survival games. Most recently, Grounded is the survival game that I've played the most of recently. And I have played Long Dark before, but not very much. I know that I really enjoyed this game when I did play the little bit that I did play it. And, well, I'm bringing it back. I want to see how pretty much a Long Dark noob can handle the Stalker difficulty. Stalker is not the hardest difficulty in the game, it's the one right below it. I've never played on Stalker before, so this is going to be a crazy experience. It's probably going to be incredibly hard. I don't know how this is going to go. But I thought it'd be fun to see and show you guys what that first experience is like if you enjoy some survival game action. I did a random start, so I didn't know where I was going to drop in at. I don't know anything about the regions of this game. Where I start is where I start, and I will have to improvise. The Long Dark is an unforgiving game about surviving a plane crash in the North Canadian wilderness during a geomagnetic storm. You're alone and freezing. How long can you survive? This is my story. I awoke on the first day in a low valley betwixt two mountains. There was no sign of the plane, no sign of anyone. I was cold. I looked around to my left, to my right. I looked everywhere. There was nothing. Fallen trees, snow, tufts of grass. I knew one thing. I needed to find shelter. And I needed fire. Along the way, I found some stones. Some old man's lichen beard to help me. You might be able to fasten that into a bandage. I couldn't gather for long. The temperature was falling. I was rapidly losing body temperature.
Damn, I'm freezing.
Early onset frostbite started to set in. I needed to find shelter. I knew my chances of catching hypothermia were high if I didn't find shelter soon. I picked up a few extra stones. Perhaps I could use them to defend myself. Walls of snow. Rivers of ice. Cattails would provide excellent tinder for a fire. I decided to snag them. I didn't know if it was worth it to get these cattails or not. All I knew is that I was freezing. I couldn't feel my hands. I couldn't feel my feet. How long could I survive exposed to the elements like this? I had to act quick. Maybe if I follow the river, I could find civilization. I picked up sticks along the way for a future fire, if I could ever find a place to make one. A little further ahead, I came across a small frozen pond with rabbits grazing. With shaking, numb hands, I readied my stone and took aim. Chance at dinner, and maybe some added warmth, gone. Two things that I desperately needed. Unfortunately, meat is not on the menu tonight. I was lost. I had nowhere to go, nowhere to be. My next thought, perhaps I could climb my way out. I grabbed some extra mushrooms. It could make for a meal. I didn't know their effects. I continued searching the area for mushrooms and other valuable objects. The temperature was low, my health dropping. Hypothermia could set in at any moment. I was beginning to panic. My temperature was low. I was hungry, and my eyeball was rapidly dropping. I needed shelter soon. I found a path across a log. Looked like it could lead up and out of the river valley. Early on, I came across a gorgeous waterfall. There was a path that weaved between two mountains that looked like a way out. I threw a rock in frustration, my body freezing. I was running out of energy. I was running out of temperature. I was running out of eyeball. Things didn't look good. If I didn't find shelter soon, I was a goner. And then I came across it. An opening in the mountain. A potential cave. I had to hope the cave wasn't inhabited. This was my only shot at survival. The cave was pitch black except for a few holes in the ceiling where light streamed through. It was oddly comforting. Would this cave save my life? I decided to do an inventory now that my temperature had stabilized. I had a few meds and antibiotics. My clothes were almost all but completely destroyed and worthless. My food situation abysmal. Only a stale chocolate bar available. I had a bedroll, a recycled can, and some stones, and then some crafting materials I picked up along the way. This was bare bones. The cave was pitch black. I couldn't see where I was going. I thought about making a fire in this cave, but I realized as I was about to use my materials to make a fire that I was stabilized and I actually was getting warmer without it. So I opted to take a rest inside this cave. I decided to do some mega dope card tricks while I waited for my temperature to get warm and for my hypothermia risk to go away. This extra warmth could get me to shelter. I was running low on water, I was running low on food, and all the while my eyeball was also depleting rapidly. I continued to search the cave for a way out. This proved more difficult than I had imagined, because on my TV screen, it is literally pitch black. I can't even see the wall. I can see it here now, but I could not see it when I was playing.
Getting kind of thirsty.
Continued to search the cave and came across some sticks and some valuable firewood for later.
That'll come in handy.
If I could find a shelter, this could save my life. I forged ahead, the pitch black cavern leading me along. Using my hands to feel the edge of the walls, I kept moving. It looked like I'd come across a way up and out of the cave. Where this would lead to, I did not know, but I knew it had to be better than the hushed river valley that I was in before. Upon leaving the cave, I came across a land much more fertile than the land that I had previously been in. Flatter terrain, more trees, and possibly more wildlife. Could I find civilization here? I came across my first road. This could lead me to the shelter I've been so desperately needing. Off in the distance, I see what appears to be a trailer down the road. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Upon getting closer, the trailer appeared to be that of one left behind by a potential logging company. It was small and unassuming, but it did have a few amenities. A workbench, some sardines,
Better take this food.
a couple of books, and a soda or two. That was enough to deal with my thirst. Summit soda, the thirst quencher. It was delicious on my busted lips. Some scrap metal also found its way in. I could use those for hooks, potentially. Or maybe to repair something. I wasn't sure at the time. Cardboard matches found on the shelf. Other than that, there wasn't much. There was some beef jerky in the workbench.
I'll be hungry later.
And it was here that I made some fishing hooks. Perhaps I could do some fishing while I was here. If I could find a good spot, it was a potential way to get food. Stump remover in a cardboard box. I didn't know what this was for, but it came along for the ride. Anything could be useful. We broke the cardboard box down into tender plugs and checked the first aid kit. Alas, there was nothing. Leaving the trailer, I decided to go check the porta-johns across the way. Perhaps someone had left something valuable in them. Unfortunately, they were locked up tight. Real tight. I found some flower buds. Potentially could be smokable. Or I could make it into a tea. I had to move on. This isn't the shelter I needed. This place did have larger wildlife, deer. And where there's deer, there are predators. I heard the howl of the wolf in the distance. I ran up to the cliffside to look. How close was it? It was down by the rock. I figured I could roll around it. I didn't want to come up behind.
I need to lay down.
I'd go around. These were dangerous times. My eyeball was low. I was thirsty and hungry. And then I heard it. We were in trouble. We'd put ourselves right into the firing line of this wolf. We had no other choice.
Smarts a bit.
Pain shot up my ankle. I knew I had rolled it. My eyeball painfully low. My ankle hurt like hell. And a wolf was on my ass. It wasn't just one. But now a second wolf joined the fray. This was not looking good. Hobbling down the road, I saw a structure ahead of me. A church. This was my way out. This was my safety. Another wolf from the front. This was not looking good. All I had to do was get to the church. I flung a stone at the animal and it did not run away. I was deterred by a fence. I had to get inside now.
Cold is making my head feel.
How fitting a man of science finds salvation in a church. Church looked like someone had been here before. Pork and
Can always
beans,
use more
books,
food.
a campfire, even a bed laid out before me. I knew one thing. I had to get water. My pain was almost unbearable. My ankle screamed. Single bullet left on the pulpit. We were in trouble. I took a brief stock of what this church had and opted to make a fire. I needed water. I needed food and I needed rest. Using the cedar firewood from earlier, the fir firewood, and the sticks, I had plenty of time on this fire to get water. Using a recycled can, I'd gather snow, melt it, and boil it. I could keep my thirst satisfied for now, while I waited for my ankle to heal. I placed my bedroll down. Once I had the fire and water going, I took a good look at my injuries. It was a sprain, and I had early onset frostbite. The pain was unbearable. Trying to wait for the melted snow, I collapsed. The sleep, however, was short-lived as the pain jolted me awake. We desperately needed water. While the water was boiling, while we waited for the snow to melt and the water to boil, we took another inventory of the church. A pry bar was found that could help us break into cars, possibly locked objects. More books for the fire. I spent a good deal of time melting snow and boiling it to make it drinkable, and stockpiled water for later. I knew I wouldn't be able to survive in this church for long, if but a couple of days. I needed food. I needed more reliable sources of water, and I needed a better place to stay. Where a church is, people are. We just needed to find the surrounding village, the town, whatever it might be. We needed to find it. I decided warm pork and beans for dinner would do. It wasn't much. It was enough to satisfy me for the evening. My body felt warm. I was properly hydrated, but my eyeball was almost completely drained. I was dog-tired, and I needed rest. I awoke in the middle of the night, in what sounded like the middle of a blizzard. I knew I couldn't go outside in this weather. I decided to eat a little moldy beef jerky and a stale chocolate bar for breakfast. I drank the water that we made the night before with the melted snow. We had only one option. Let's get the fire started and wait out this storm. While waiting for the storm to subside, we decided to take another inventory of the church. We found a backpack.
Excellent.
Broke down some cardboard boxes for some tinder. Found a couple of pieces of cloth. We could use those for bandages. While waiting for the blizzard to subside, we decided to use this time to stock up on some more water while we were fairly healthy and at least somewhat awake. Now that the fire was down, it was time for another rest. We awoke in early morning. The sun was out, the blizzard was gone. It was time to leave the church. I figured we could do a little survey, find out where we were. We were indeed at a church. I decided to check the car next to the church for any supplies. Today's main objective is to gain firewood. We were completely out at the end of last night, and we are going to need firewood to continue to gain water and potentially cook food. Now, we're not going to stay in the church for long. Obviously, this place is surrounded by walls. I don't see any right now, thank God, but main goal today is to get some wood. So after picking up some sticks, decided to head back towards the church. Heading back to the church, I did notice, thought I'd go down the road and check this truck out, but unfortunately there's a wolf. The wolf was in between me and the truck. And instead of going back into the church, I decided to hurl a stone at it for some reason. I panicked and ran inside, just barely escaping the jaws of the beast. It appeared that I was stuck in the church for a little while longer. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to use my sticks for a fire, and I didn't want to wait. So I just decided to fart around a little bit, take another look at the church, see if I missed any important, any important stuff. And I didn't. I decided to leave the church. I awoke. Blood coloring the snow in front of me. I felt weak, my clothes ripped, my ankle sprained. I was losing blood rapidly. I crawled, hobbled my way back into the church. I needed bandages. I needed anything to stop this bleeding. Rummaging through my backpack, all I saw were antibiotics and antiseptics. I had no bandages. I would have to craft some. And it was there, while crafting a bandage, that I died from blood loss. And there it is, guys. That was my first stalker attempt on the long dark. Holy smokes. Wow. Yeah, I did not expect that wolf to be outside the church so close, but he was definitely chilling there waiting for me to come back out. I should have spent way more time in the church. Should have passed some time, but I didn't. Anyway, this was a lot of fun to make. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of this content. I will be doing another episode. The first run. We didn't make it very far. We didn't make it, but a day. Surely we can do better next time. All right, guys. Love you. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you next time.